The MRA Elite are on target for the home stretch. For the championship weekend, however, they've one opportunity to grasp at purse and points. We are a long way removed from these heavy Chevys you're looking at right here as we get ready for the MRA Elite to hit the track here tonight. Opening things up with the modified paddle class here on the dirt in Gore Springs, Mississippi for the penultimate rounds of this 2023 Championship Series. The bottle-fed Flyers will hit the track first. Racing at a Dirt Shop has a lot of equipment in competition, and two of the cars battling for the championship right now have that name on the side of them. As you can see here, we will also have the open class, the big blower motors. They will hit the track with their session 1 and 2. We will wrap things up with them here tonight from Gore Springs, Mississippi at DT's Dirt Drags. Right now, though, hitting the track first with the mod paddles, there's Richard Donovan out of Halifax, Virginia, in Tiger 87 CJ7, all AMC power plant, 454 cubic inch Barry Allen racing engine. Right now, though, we're going to look at the points coming into today's action. As I said, right up on top, two racing in the dirt chassis for this year, a brand new one and one that has actually won championships, that being Shane Olrogi driving now Greg Martinez's Scream. You see Caleb Dunsavage, Tara McConnell, and Keith Mitchell, and I must mention Tara McConnell's vehicle, Kryptonite, part of the Coolidge clan. That vehicle also racing in the dirt chassis, as you see Rick George lining up now and Shoot to Thrill out of Franklin, Georgia. Many a mud racing fan probably remembers the town of Franklin, Georgia from back in the 90s, the home to the Deer Creek Motorsports Park. Well, this is the family behind that awesome facility. He goes toe-to-toe now with the bright yellow Jeep of Richard Donovan. Georgia and Virginia staging right now for this first pairing of the night in the modified paddle class. There you see Scott Olrogi, owner of the Racing in the Dirt Shop. He and Shane run that out of Cleveland, Wisconsin. Built the car nearest the camera. Awesome run for both of that. Look at that. Rick George just bettered the 200-foot national record, which was a 2:25 with a 7. Rick George just ran a 2:23. Richard Donovan, not bad though, at a 2:48. You can see they are running just a ton of fuel through that giant 959 cubic inch engine on the back of Shoot to Thrill, the Billy Albert racing engine. Built out of Virginia. Here comes another racing in the dirt chassis. Daniel Carrer out of Spalding, Nebraska, looking for trouble. They just stepped up in the horsepower department this year. 632 cubic inch Tony Bischoff Ford with a 300 shot of nitrous going next to the biggest power plant in the game. Keith Mitchell out of Fredonia, Pennsylvania, running a 960 cubic inch Sonny's power plant. And of course, those familiar with this sport know the name Sonny's. Sonny Leonard passed away a few years ago, but still kept alive with many, many parts in this sport. Keith Mitchell running, as I said, the biggest power plant in this game right now. Side by side with Daniel Kerr, who jumped into this class last year, now with bigger horsepower. Let's see what he can do against Mitchell. Got to go faster than record time to get up there at 2:27. Closing in on record time for Mitchell. And again, another 2:48 out of that far lane. So consistent so far in the times they're running. I'd say this left side of the track is the place to be right now as Mitchell carries the front end. It's kind of become his trademark. I think he had a little more wheel spin on the starting line than he was hoping for, but he's in a position now where he could not only if he can get this thing figured out, take over the class, but he could actually run record time in the next round and back it up without having to make a backup pass. Now, Tara McConnell out of Two Harbors, Minnesota, part of the Coolidge Racing team. She'll get a bye run here in the brand new Kryptonite, another racing in the dirt-built machine out of cold country, 612 cubic inch Oldsmobile power plant. Moved around a little bit on her, it looked like, as she pedaled just off the starting line at 275. Not going to get her in the top of the field thus far, I think, as Jason Massey rolls out the second-rate race team machine out of Fraser's Bottom, West Virginia. This is a record holder in the sport. In fact, he holds, I believe, the 200-foot cut tire record in this class right now. Goes side by side with the vice president of the, the president. I don't know why I demoted him there. The president of the second race team. That's Gene Cruz. Bad Intentions out of Kentucky. 800 plus cubic inch Billy Albert power plant, side by side with an 828 cubic inch aluminum Chevrolet power plant in Massey, who you see purging the nitrous over there. Again, these bottle-fed machines, you want to get that nitrous pressure just right, because if you run too much air into that fuel system, not enough fuel, you'll lean out the motor and cause massive problems. It can rob horsepower. Let's see. Bit of a wild ride there for Cruz. Is up and down, a 2.35 and a 2.30. Not going to get to the top of the field, but both of them were on kill during that run, so I'm sure they'll have more when they come back for session 2. Watch it again. Gene Cruz carrying the front end up and down. Jason Massey with those telltale flames out of the headers. Running hard, but again, not quite enough to jump over the record-breaking pass of Rick George. He does not hold the record yet, but he did go faster than the record, and that's how quick you have to be to get into the number one spot here in the class. Now, legendary family in the sport. Caleb Dunsavage driving his father's Color Me Gone rear engine rail. There you see his father, Ronnie Dunsavage, the godfather, really, of this class. Going side by side with Shane Olrogi out of Cleveland, Wisconsin in Scream, the builder of most of these racing in the dirt cars that you're seeing out here tonight. Greg Martinez now owns that championship capturing machine there you see in the near lane. Scream used to be called Deranged, and Shane took it to more than one victory. Good run for Olrogi. Look at 2.23 with an 8. So right there in the ballpark as he creeps up on Rick George's back door. Caleb Dunsavage not doing too bad, but definitely was looking for more out of the machine. Runs a 2.25. So again, you got to be that quick to get into the number one spot. These guys are absolutely flying here tonight, and they are just getting started. A quick look at the top 5 right now as they stand. And you can see Dunsavage sitting up in the number 3 spot after that run. Rick George on top. Shane Olrogi right behind him at a 2.38. Both of them bettering the national record. In fact, Dunsavage bettered the national record as well with a 2.51. So there's 3 guys right now that are in position to potentially claim a national record. Keith Mitchell, though, not far off. He might have a shot at it if he plays his cards right. Stay with us. The open class is coming up next.
This Back Channel Productions program is brought to you in part by RPM Army, the place to get your motorsports fix.
The world-famous C60 Cyclops. The infamous Dodge Carryall, unnamed and untamed. Get yourself a one-of-a-kind toy, the Mudbogger Trim Monster Truck at freedomracingnt.com.
Back Channel Productions is your home for all the action of the 2023 MRA Championship Series. Getting ready to close out the season here in a couple more events. Here you see the points in the Kelly O'Dell Open Cut class. Kevin Harrison leading the charge into the penultimate weekend, followed by Scott Snarsky, who's hanging on in there, though he's not here this weekend. This could be a very important event for Ingram, Fling, and Renaud, with number 2 not being in the field, a chance to gain some points on Kevin Harrison. Right now, though, as we get back to the action here at DT's Dirt Drags in Gore Springs, Mississippi, we're looking maybe for more record breakers, as we already had the record demolished there in the in the modified class. Now moving on to the open cuts. Staging first, Jim Ingram out of Simonton, Texas, and Bad Trouble 3. Screwblown 500 cubic inch Hemi powered rear engine rail, and Tyler Coolidge with his father there on the line, the teammate to the Kryptonite car we saw there in the modified class. This is Nightmare 6. 500 cubic inch Alan Johnson performance engine with 1471 Whipple supercharger on top. He and his father Joel normally share driving duties, but Tyler seems to have taken over this year in both cut and paddle classes. Working for a living on that one. Look at that. Closing in on that national record, a 2:14 with a 4 is the record, a 2:18 for Coolidge. Take the better of those 2 times. Watch Ingram again on the run. Look at him. He had to pedal it as the car made a move to the right. Had to back on the throttle at the front end, come back down to regain control. And we always get the question, do these guys really need 4-wheel drive with the front end in the air? Right there you see a good example of why. Not only does it help the gyration of the vehicles to have the front wheels turning, it actually will pull them straight even with the front end in the air. But when they set it down, they need that control. They don't want to just be carving with those front tires, not pulling. You need that power to pull you out. Now, the points leader, Kevin Harrison, a guy who has smashed many records in this class. And the chassis builder, Eric Bidlack, there, never enough, from right down the road in Grenada, Mississippi. We'll call him the hometown hero. And another Texan, Mark Riggin, out of Lockhart, Texas, in another bad habit. Awesome piece of equipment, 526 cubic inch Hemi bullet chassis out of the Lone Star State. And as I mentioned, Eric Bidlack built Never Enough. That vehicle you see right there, that big Aussie horsepower, the screw-blown 527 cubic inch Noonan power plant in the back of that one. He was wicked fast. Look at that. Betters the national record. He smashed it at 2:09. It was a 2:14. He breaks the record. Now he's got to back it up, and it's always better when you can break the record in session 1, because if you break it in session 2 and you're not close enough on the time to back it up, you got to make a third run, and that can be very hard on these really boosted engines that you're seeing here. Man, both of those guys getting out of shape. Mark Riggin almost ate the guardrail right there. Both of them stepping out of the rear end. Now another Noonan-powered machine, another racing in a dirt chassis out of Hornpain, Ontario. This is Steve Renaud in Frantic with his crew chief, the legendary Gary Baker, alongside, and Billy Fling in the Brasket Race Cars Built Reality Check out of Sunbury, Ohio. 581 cubic inch Hemi. He and his brothers Dale and Steve and their buddy Dan crewing and tuning on this machine. Lined up now alongside Steve Renaud in Frantic, a guy who is well capable of getting in that national record territory. Fling having to back out of it. He was literally up against the rail. Look at that, a 2:15. Closing in on the national record, but he is going to have to go very fast to catch up with Kevin Harrison here tonight. What a run, though. To open the class, these guys are going to have to absolutely put these machines on full boogie tilt. Look at Billy Fling working hard in the cockpit to keep that machine off of that rail. We saw Kevin Harrison, of all people, get into that rail last year and actually got airborne, bent the chassis, and then started breaking records. So I don't think, though, that Billy Fling would have had such luck. I cannot believe he did not actually hit the guardrail. Maybe only a finger's width right there kept him off of that guardrail proper. Now, a guy who moved up to the open class out of the modified division, Travis Shoemaker in high roller 4 out of Germansville, Pennsylvania. We know this machine is capable of good things. We'll see what he has for the rest of the field. 521 screw-blown Hemi. Used to run an 800-plus cubic inch Ford power plant in the back of this thing with the 4-stage nitrous system on it. Now moving to the blower class. And in fact, he says it's cheaper to run in this class but make more horsepower. So we'll see how it works for him here. He's had a few good passes on this car. He is capable of beating this whole field. Not like that, though. A big pop on the starting line. And I do believe that he just launched either an entire or a part of a burst panel right there. And it luckily went backward where nobody is, because those burst panels are meant to separate. They should not fly out like that, but it does look like one cut its way through the trees back there, which again, safety first with the MRA. Let's take a listen to this in real time. Echoing through the trees here in Gore Springs, a big pop for Travis Shoemaker. He could ill afford, and I do believe that's going to be the end of his night. Hopefully, it was just in the blower and just the top of the motor. Nothing down internally was harmed. We'll find out, though, as the weekend goes on. Kevin Harrison leading the pack with a record run. Steve Renaud, Tyler Coolidge, Jim Ingram, and Mark Riggin are all chasing him in the top 5 right now, and they have got their work cut out for them because they have to go at least 1/10,000th of a second faster than the time he just saw. Stay with us. The nitrous-injected vehicles are coming up next. Well, we are back with 2 classes now smashing records here at DT's Dirt Drags. It's time to either back them up or get knocked off the top. There you see Caleb Dunsavage in Color Me Gone. He'll stage side by side with the vehicle that won the championship here the last few years. That now called Scream of Greg Martinez with Shane Olrogi, the chassis builder, at the wheel. We will see Greg jump behind the wheel in the cut tire class tomorrow. Right now, though, in the paddle tires, Shane hanging on in there. He knows he can take this car to another championship. We'll see if he can do it this year as he purges that nitrous. 2 vehicles, by the way, that we have seen win many, many events over the last few years. And Caleb Dunsavage coming from good ilk here. As you can see, a massive purge of the nitrous. These guys running a lot of fuel through these massive engines, and you need as much air as you can get to run that much fuel through, but you don't want too much air. As I said earlier, you do not want that motor to lean out. You can rob horsepower, you can actually blow the motor up. So we'll see what these guys have for Rick George now in record territory. Trying to outrun a 223. Look at that, a 222 for Shane Olrogi, a 227 for Dunsavage. Nothing to be ashamed of there, but Olrogi now sitting with the opportunity to snag that record. If the pass that he just made stands for the fastest time of the night, he will be the new record holder. Remember, rolling into this event, it was a 225. Rick George ran a 223.0. Shane Olrogi in the previous session ran a 223.8. Now runs a 222, so he's right where he needs to be to back that record up without having to run again. Now, Jason Massey, as I said, another record holder in the sport. He's gone fast enough to grab the record in the cut class here at DT's. See what he's got. Had a buy run because Gene Cruz could not make the call. Look at that, a 2-2-1 with a 9. Unbelievable how quick these guys are going. Massey, 2-2-1 with a 9. Will take over the number 1 spot from Shane Olrogi. Man, I said these guys are going to be on kill here tonight, and they are. This has always been and always has the potential to be a record-breaking track, but you have to wonder, where's the line? Where will these vehicles not be able to go any faster on 200 feet of dirt? It's normally a 300-foot track for the locals. They run 200 feet here because these guys need like all 800 to 900 feet of shutdown that they can get, and it closes in quick with the hay bales at the end, but it is a safe track. Now Tara McConnell in Kryptonite rolling out to see what she can do, and she picked on a rough field for her first full season behind the wheel here. She ran a 2.46 with a 2 in session 1. Hesitant on takeoff, not going to do it there at 2.90. Going to fall short. Getting that all-important seat time right now, though. Only using 2 of the 3 kits of nitrous they've got on this car. This thing is definitely capable of a record run. We know that. In fact, it's built nearly identically to the vehicle that took the national championship in this class last year that Shane Olrogi is piloting now as Keith Mitchell rolls out of Fredonia, Pennsylvania in the Mudgician, again side by side with Daniel Carrer, who jumps up again in horsepower this year, running a 632 cubic inch Tony Bischoff Ford that's up from a 552 cubic inch Denny Bloom designed Ford that Bischoff had tuned. We'll see. Pennsylvania or Nebraska, can either of these guys jump over that record? Not that way, man. Neither one of them getting what they wanted out of that. Carrer with a pop coming off the line, and Mitchell with all kinds of problems. Looked like he is making so much horsepower that the wheelie bar was causing the chassis to unload. He was kicking back onto it so fast, and normally that is one of the best balanced cars in the game. Look at him coming over to the left, getting it straight, then he starts to, looks like maybe head to the right. It's kind of hard to tell from the sideline. Maybe if we can get a look at the end zone replay. We're going to go right into the next one because they're coming right to the line. There you see Rick George back in Shoot to Thrill, but there was a lot of movement out of Keith Mitchell in that far lane. You have to wonder if he left any ruts over there that are going to adversely affect Rick George, who again was the guy who smashed the record coming into this session. This is the final pairing in the class. Right now in session 2, the Halifax, Virginia Jeep and the Franklin, Georgia racing in the dirt, rear engine rail. Shoot to Thrill on the far side, Tiger on the near side. Two-2-1 with a 9's the time to beat. 2-1-9 with a 9. Rick George shattering records, backing him up, and he will be the new national record holder at a 2-1-9-9-6. Jason Massey, though, at a 2-2-1. Shane Olrogi at a 2-2-2. And then look at that, Caleb Dunsavage with a 2-2-5-1. The top 4 of the top 5 all ran faster than the standing national record coming into this weekend. And here is a look at the points leaving this class behind here at DT's Dirt Drags. They'll head on to Cook Station, Missouri next time out. Shane Olrogi, though, leading the class, but only by 20 points. And remember, you throw out your worst finishes of the year. Rick George not only has a shot at getting into the number 1 spot, on the track, but in the bookkeeping. So we'll see what happens as the tour moves on. Stay with us. The blower motors hit the track again when we come back to DT's Dirt Dregs.
Hey, welcome to Wildman Adventures. We're at the Silver Lake Sand Dragway. There really wasn't any off-roading back then. It was all off-road. We're on our way to Lima, Ohio. Got wooden wheels.
Oh, it's slippery as all get out.
Hey, we're here with Rich Cummins. Hey, we're here with Mike Potter. Hey, we're here with Alan Pizzo. Gotta check it out. This week we're going to go down memory lane.
Well, it has been super fast so far here tonight in both classes. Right now we are on the cusp of potentially a new national record now in the open class. We already saw a new one set in the modified division, and as we roll out here and you get a quick look at the top five as they stand right now, we get ready for our first pairing. There you see Billy flinging Reality Check out of Ohio. The Brasket race car is built front engine rail. They go side by side with the man who came the furthest to be here this weekend, that being Steve Renaud out of Hornpain, Ontario. Another Racing in the Dirt built machine sponsored by Power Pro. Gary Baker, of course, the crew chief out of the state of Tennessee. It's always great to see him running around out here, helping Steve keep this car tight and tuned, and a guy that I think is just on the verge of a championship run. If he can just get the right run of races underneath him, and he could win in either or both the cut and paddle tire division. Right now, though, they have to go faster than a blistering pass laid down by Kevin Harrison, a 2:09.2 from session one. We'll see what they can do here. Ohio and Ontario on the line. Big time pop in the right-hand lane. Renaud running an awesome 2:13. Look at that fling, ran a 5:44 with a pop. That's not too bad for only making it about 40 feet off the starting line before you blow your motor. And I'm not sure what that was. It did not look like a blower explosion. That was an awful lot of fire off of the front end of that machine. Usually when you lift the blower, it'll kind of pop up in the rear, or just kind of pop up in the front. Let's watch it again, see if we can see where the explosion actually comes out of the vehicle. Look at the massive fireball there. In the outside lane, it's some material came out of the headers once it popped. It looks like that was a fuel explosion. Right out from under the fuel cell right there. That wouldn't be the first time we've seen him pop a fuel cell. He did so a couple years back down in North Carolina. Man. I have to wonder if maybe one of the injectors hung open and was leaking into the motor. Did he hydraulic that thing or what? But that was a big time pop. Hopefully he's not done for the weekend, but that was definitely some dollar damage right there. Kevin Harrison now going after his record. And he will do it. A 2:10 with a 6. Good enough to back up the 2:09 with a 2. For never enough. Kevin Harrison living up to the name emblazoned on the side of this vehicle and making the chassis builder Eric Bidlack very, very proud. And it does look like they're headed for a second straight national championship in both this, the cut, and the paddle tire class, which we will see tomorrow, but they have to stay vigilant. Cannot get complacent with these record passes. You have to keep going faster and faster. Remember, though, if you're shooting at a national record and you do manage to gain it, that means that you are winning events, which means the points, the money, and the records are going in your book for the end of the year. Now, Joel Coolidge's Nightmare 6 being piloted by his son Tyler, who keeps that car tuned and ready to go all season long alongside Jim Ingram, a guy who also I think is on the verge of some major event wins here, hopefully before the end of 2023, but certainly going into 2024. Bad Trouble 3 out of Simonton, Texas. We get ready to light the candles and wait for the tree to drop to green. Oh, both of them in trouble. Look at this driving job at the end of the track. A 219 up against the guardrail for Tyler Coolidge and Jim Ingram. Not going to be happy by any stretch of the imagination with the run he just laid down. He did the same thing Billy Fling did in session 1. Watch it again. Both of them making a hard move to the right. Just could not get the thing to stay straight. And look at the pedal job in the other lane. Holy cow. Talk about good driving, both of them. Again, hard to the right. And Tyler Coolidge, as I always say, working for a living up in that cockpit right there. Good heads-up driving for both of those guys to keep them on all fours and not press them up against the rails hard enough to do damage to the corners. Kevin Harrison, though, rolling out of here with the national record and the victory and the money and the points at a 209.2. Steve Renaud right behind him, though, doing what he's got to do to try to creep up on Kevin Harrison. It's not over yet, by the way. They have one more event, and the points are close enough to make a difference. Tyler Coolidge, Jim Ingram, and Mark Riggin round out the top 5. One more look at the points in the Kelly Odell Open Cuts. Kevin Harrison leading the charge right now with a pretty big margin over Scott Snarsky, but I said that tonight was important for guys like Jim Ingram, guys like Steve Renaud, Billy Fling even, to try to get up there and creep up into that second spot on Scott Snarsky, and you can see Jim Ingram has done exactly that. He's now tied with Snarsky as always. What a night of racing here at DT's Dirt Drags. Records broken, records shattered and reset in both classes. It has been awesome. Thank you for joining us. More to come next time from DT's Dirt Drags with the MRA Championship Series.